how do you feel about this idea of like people feeling like they have to be whole to find the right person?
I mean, surprise, I think it's stupid too. I don't know what whole means. I don't know anyone who is whole. I don't know what that means. I mean, I would say, be emotionally stable if possible, meaning like you can wake up, you can take care of yourself, you can get to work. If you're working, you can, kind of show up for yourself. That's a good idea. But in terms of like killing at all levels or 100% healed from your past, or I don't know, I think that's all just kind of crap. Unless you're saying I need space, then, by all means, I support you. But like, it's not a prereq for a relationship. And sometimes getting into a relationship often can help us feel whatever the fuck whole is, but whole, or a little bit more complete for a period until our partner pisses us the fuck off. And then we're like, what the fuck? I feel so incomplete. He's the wrong person. But yeah, I mean, you do not. When people get out of relationships, I tell them to start dating and fucking or having sex, whatever, as soon as they feel comfortable to do so, or maybe even beforehand. Just because it's a really great way to remind yourself that you are desirable and that relationships don't only exist within your past relationship, that you can connect with somebody and it can be fun, or you can learn something new from them and never see them again, or you could reject them and that could feel empowering or whatever. I think this idea that we should be in a certain place before we are able to receive some of those things is really, to me, actually unhealthy and a reflection of, real relational anxiety, shame, and fear. When we're saying, I'm not ready for somebody to love me because I'm whatever, don't have a job, or because whatever the demographics are that people use to say why they're not ready. When it's in service of saying because someone isn't going to want me, that's about anxiety, fear, shame.
It's a little bit of a fool's errand too, right? That
Yeah.
like we're never whole. It's a journey.
No.
Life is a whole journey. Sorry, Aisha,
Yeah.
I didn't mean to cut you off. You were about
No,
to say
no,
something.
you're good. I was just gonna say, yeah, it's so true because kind of going back to what we were saying earlier, is what kind of happens when you're in a relationship is you like come against things that you wouldn't come against within yourself if you're just, out here alone because you're not being challenged. So there's no need for you to really challenge yourself. So that it helps with overall growth when are able to sort of have those new experiences and those tit for tat sometimes that you need to have to really just grow as a person.
Yeah, 1,000%. I mean, that's so true that we can learn the most about ourselves in the context of a relationship because it will surface all of that stuff. Being in a relationship is a great place to work on yourself. Being single is a great place to work on yourself. It doesn't matter.
Do you think self-love will solve all our problems?
No, I don't.
That's
It's just,
a unique take.
That is controversial.
I know, and I don't really understand why. I mean, I get why. A lot of the current rules about relationships and love are just a reaction to decades of trauma that was minimized and denied. So, like, self-love, I think it's become so popularized because so many people grew up in the past, however, hundreds, forever, being told by a parent, by culture, um, in one way or another that they weren't lovable because of who they were, because of what they looked like, etc. And so, I think the push for self-love is really to take back that experience, or to take back our power. If people want to use self-love, that's fine. But I think in the context of relationships and life in general, self-love is often just used to dismiss and minimize pain. Just love yourself more. You just need to learn how to accept yourself and love yourself. And that's a piece of the pie, but it really isn't. It's a combination of self-love, relational love, accountability, responsibility. I mean, it's just so many different things. And I've said this before, and people are like, well, that's all can be considered self-love. I'm like, okay, so then you could use that word. But like, I don't know. I think language is really important. And so much what I was saying about authenticity and passion and all that other stuff, self-love is just a reflection of so many different things. And it's important to kind of really piece apart what that means. So when people are like, love yourself more, it makes me want to throw myself out the window because I'm like, I love myself. Like, I don't, please don't say that to me. it's a way to minimize what I'm expressing or not doing or doing. And I don't like that.
Yeah, because I do think now there are a lot of words that are getting hijacked, and self-love is something that we have all said, and I think that there's some value in it if it is applied appropriately. But I appreciate that you always talk also about relational love, because I was reading a study, like, it's not just about our relationship with self, like our relationship with others does actually matter. And I think the pandemic really kind of proved that the inability to have that social interaction can really f people up. There was a study recently, I can't quote it because I was just reading an article about it, but it was a long-term study, and it said, what uh, there's one factor that contributes to 80% of your happiness, and they were like, it's not your money, it's not stability or something, it was the quality of your
Relationships.
relationships. And
Yeah.
and all of that, like, because again, what you're saying, we I think self-love matters in the way you describe it, which is knowing what you want. And sometimes you need to look inward and give yourself that time and love and care to figure it out. But that's the kind of context of self-love I think that's actually really important in a dating world. But you're saying it's being hidden under this like random term of like, just go take yourself to a spa. Um,
Yeah, I mean, but you bring up a really important point, which is we're social creatures, we're social organisms. We've evolved not because of our ability to love ourselves, but our ability to form communities, collaborate, and have connection. I'm not even necessarily talking about love. I'm just saying, we live in communities and cities, and this is how we evolve. So self-love is not going, you can't love yourself in isolation. You can't stay home and journal yourself to affirmation in the mirror and day after, you have to be out and about having a dynamic interaction between your environment and your internal world. This is how we all fundamentally develop. If someone is born and thrown in a closet, I mean, it's terrible, thrown in a closet, but they're not going to develop. And it's the same thing with adults too. We cannot develop in isolation the same way we can with others. And so, oftentimes self-love doesn't come from these affirmations or journaling or whatever, but it comes from interacting with our environment and the people in it that we care about. And yes, getting the validation from them and connection with them and seeing that we're liked and so on and so on. So relational love is actually more of a reflection of what people need. And so over self-love, I think.
yeah, I have a weird story, but my dad, he's like a Indian astrologer, so he's like a Vedic astrologer, but
Cool.
he's basically kind of like an Indian priest. And
Yeah.
growing up, we grew up very. He taught us a lot about Hinduism, but also like a lot about spirituality and stuff. And his big thing and our biggest fight with him was he's a very kind of closed off, private-ish type of guy. And his whole thing was, you guys are fucking me up. I just want to go into a cave and live by myself like a sage. And we're like, that of course it's easy to get enlightenment when you're just not interacting with anybody ever, but that's also not life, and you're not actually being challenged, because real enlightenment is having these challenges and then learning to overcome them in a positive way. And that's so I was very against this idea of like limiting your social interactions just to evolve. Um and I think again, like, this pandemic and stuff proves it. And all of these studies that your relational interactions really matter long term for you.
100%. Yeah. I mean, not to go on and on about it, but I think it's also a way for people to feel like I was saying before, but more powerful, to feel like they have control over their environment or their life. But as with many things, we really, really greatly underestimate the role our environment plays, and who we are and how we think and our perspective and our values. and how we identify in every way. I mean, we cannot separate ourselves from other people or the environment. Even when we're masturbating alone, we're still being impacted by the social and political climate that we live in and the rules that we learned growing up and everything. So, it isn't just a black or white thing. I mean, I think we really have to start focusing more on the context of our lives and how that shapes who we are and how we love versus, this fundamental innate thing called self-love or anything else.
I hope you guys enjoyed that video and check out our next one. Thank you so much for watching, and please subscribe to this channel for more amazing dating, love, and relationship advice from me and so many expert guests. Follow us on socials. We're at Kinda Dating across the board. I'm Natasha Chandel, so you can find me too if you like. And join our newsletter on www.kindadating.com for lots of exclusives. See you soon.